If we think about the notions of rigidity that they sort of, define the word in one particular way thinkers go by, we couldn't call anything democracy that didn't resemble what happened in Athens. Because it's like one definition. I've been criticized for using multiple definitions of patriarchy that all describe the same thing, but in a different emphasis. We're using different words depending on what the concepts I'm going to be using in the video. So this idea that somehow there's one version of what patriarchy means or racism means, and it must be, less than 25 words long, and it must come from a dictionary.
Exactly.
We don't do that except for things that they don't like.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And the whole obsession with what things are called just comes off as really reactionary and uncurious, lacking intellectual curiosity. They don't actually care about what the things are. And you can see that with things like trigger warnings. I'm guessing everyone who mocks trigger warnings aren't ableist pieces of shit, They're not actually all saying fuck people with PTSD and stuff. They actually just don't know what it is. And they're just judging it entirely by what it's called.
What really bothers me about the whole objection to trigger warnings or to safe spaces, it's like, how does this affect you in any way?
That's the thing.
Don't need the trigger warning, if you don't need the safe space, these are not things that exist in your life. This is like, ratings on movies when you're an adult. If you're going to see an R-rated movie, it doesn't matter to you. It doesn't affect you what the grade is. You can get into every movie. So if it helps other people and it does no harm to you, why are you spending so much time and energy hating on it? I just don't get it.
It's just like gay marriage. The people opposed to gay marriage. It has no impact on your life. And if other people value it as important, who cares? Just let them do it. You're not hurting anybody. And then, and that's why they have to create this straw man version of it that's destroying, free thought on university campuses. That's not actually happening, but they have to say something like that because they need to have an argument against it. They don't have a real one, so they have to make one up. Just like the anti-Anita Sarkeesian people who strawman her on, with such regularity. It's mind-boggling, I've never actually seen a critique of Anita Sarkeesian that didn't strawman her. Never. And I have watched dozens of those. They don't exist.
And that gets back to my point about them always taking straw man arguments. Take the strongest, not the straw man. Show your case and how demonstrate how convincing your argument is by taking on the strongest opponent, not making your opponent's arguments as weak as possible.
Humongous.
Yeah. And that's like what I was saying. They don't actually know who those people are who have the strong arguments, I was, in my hangout with Bain, I mentioned Rebecca Walker and Kimberly Crenshaw, the two people who, along with Bell Hooks, basically created the third wave. They don't even know, they know who Bell Hooks is, a lot of them, but they don't know who those two are, and they've just never heard the names before. So they can't even, they can't construct an argument against their rhetoric because they haven't read the rhetoric and don't even know who the person is, I would be shocked to hear that any of the anti-fem thought leaders have even read Rebecca Walker's essay, Becoming the Third Wave. I guarantee you almost none of them have.
And they're not familiar with feminist activism either. I think, I was watching an interview with somebody on the Skeptic Feminist show, and they talked about feminist activism, and he said, in New York State now was trying to work against a bill that would give fathers 50% custody. Like, well, maybe they had an interest of the child position. I mean, I don't know. He's just listing off this one sort of talking point as against all feminist activism and portraying it as against men. We're not talking about issues like, child brides or, redefining rape in ways that are more inclusive for men and women. All these kinds of things always get shunted to the side in favor of, what people say on the internet or, in gaming. They're not actually engaging with feminist activism in the real world. They're only engaging with the online versions of it that they can mock.
Yeah, and I mean, I think quite a lot of feminists would probably disagree with this, but I don't consider critical analysis to even be activism, really. What Anita Sarkeesian does is critical analysis. It was primarily used to be about movies, but she does mainly video games now, I guess, although she still does movies a lot. That is an important part of feminism, critical analysis, and has been, since the second wave. But I would hesitate to call it actual activism, just because it's, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, that just because it's not activism means it's not valid. It's valid. And in fact, I'm about to start a series of doing critical analysis stuff. So I definitely think it's valid, but I would hesitate definitely before calling it activism. But that is the sort of stuff they focus on because they don't even, I guess they don't know what feminist activism is.
The stages agitate.
Sorry? Tom, what was that?
Yeah. Oh, this is so shit. You can't be a critic if you have an agenda, of course.
Yeah, which makes no sense.
It's like,
yeah.
Well, that's what people always say, like, oh, Anita's not a critic because she's pushing an agenda. She's Hitler, but left Hitler. But like she's she's very, very moderate, really. And I mean, I guess
in terms of her positions on feminism, I would say she's not a particularly intersectional feminist, but she's pretty mainstream third wave. Yeah.
They're the same. Grassroots organizing, educate, agitate, organize, and she can do parts 1 and 2, but she's not doing parts 3.
Yeah. And I think absolutely the kind of work she does, the kind of work that others like her, like Lee Alexander do, that's important because gaming is a thing that's becoming more and more, mainstream culturally and important culturally. And when 50% of the population doesn't necessarily feel that welcome in the gaming community, that's a problem, And just in terms of sheer amounts of people impacted, I mean, even though it's not a life or death thing or anything, we are talking about a lot of people here. So, it's definitely an important thing. And same goes with movies. That's even more people, and
for the industry, that means money.
Yeah. And, I myself tend to focus on, when it comes to entertainment, more on the people side of it, like how many women are actually being hired as writers, directors, producers, how many women are actually involved in high levels of game design and stuff like that. That, to me, is more important than the actual content of what's being put out, but they're both important. I personally would focus on getting the numbers of people in the industry up, and that's why I was a big fan of Ghostbusters, and not necessarily the film itself, although I didn't think the film was bad. I think it was very important because they went way over the normal gender ratio on a film. And that's groundbreaking, and that definitely needs to be celebrated and replicated. It needs to be highlighted because other films should try and follow suit. It's ridiculous in 2016 to have gender role-based jobs that are not, have nothing to do with biology. There's nothing about script supervision that means you have to be a woman to do it. Men can read too. So
Jessica Jones was really good at. There were a lot of women involved, from the director and the writer and
exactly. Yeah.
And you don't hear them complaining about Jessica Jones, which was I think a very feminist movie in a lot of ways. Netflix series.
That's actually a series that I'm going to be starting soon. Is a critical analysis of female superhero comics, and the very first one I'm doing is Alias, which was the comic that Jessica Jones is based on. And I'm going to be having a go at that TV show, actually, in some ways. It's a good TV show and had, important feminist messages and stuff, but, pretty poor adaptation of that comic. But anyway.
I can't speak to that.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm making a series about it, because not a lot of people who I know can speak to it. And in this day and age when superheroes are the thing, the modern equivalent of Greek myth, they need to be talked about and analyzed, definitely. And female representation needs to go way up because they're superheroes. Biology doesn't matter anymore when you have superpowers, Like Thunderfoot, was it Thunderfoot? No, it was Davis Orini who H-Bomb did a video about when he was bitching about Black Widow being, able to be part of the Avengers. It's like, you look at that team and the woman is the one that seems unbelievable to you, not the giant green mutant thing with superpowers and is a rage monster, not the guy who can fire arrows with superhuman accuracy even though he's not a superhero. All that stuff. He's like, well, she doesn't have superpowers, so why is she such a good fighter? Well, neither does fucking the Archer guy, and he's fucking superhumanly accurate. He doesn't even need to look and still hit targets with his arrows. It's ridiculous. And, you know, but the woman is the one that is mind-blowing to them.
Oh, yeah.
There's a book that sometimes referenced in British political science. I can't remember the name of the author, and I feel bad about that, but it's called Space Invaders, and it talks about the impact of when women actually take over a space that's previously been dominated by men, and how people react to that. And I think Arimi's reaction
because that is going to be one of the main themes of my hangout with H Bomber Guy and Char 42. That's what Gamergate is all about. That's my belief. Is that no matter what they say, what Gamergate is really about is a reactionary movement against females invading a previously male-only space. Because that is the most male-only space in recent memory is video games, you know.
And sports. Professional sports.
Well, yes, true, very much so. I was sports is entertainment culture as well. I just don't think about sport because I just don't care about it.
Yeah.
But you're right, Toads. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same. Yeah, and when you hear stuff like, you know, the pitches that female soccer, the US female soccer team gets to play on is something that they would never make the male team play on, and they get paid less.
Oh, right. I heard about that.
Yeah, they play on AstroTurf, the female US soccer team, which would never be forced on any professional male team, who always play on real grass. Yeah. Sorry.
That's just a huge blunder on their part. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm not much of a sports is just like music, mostly, but like even like as somebody who couldn't give a fuck about like soccer, like that just makes me.
Yeah. And they use the capitalist excuse of, oh, well, you know, the female teams don't generate as much income for us, so we can pay them less. So that's not how it actually works in the real world. You know, if you weren't a sports team, you wouldn't be allowed to do that. That's not how it works.
Agreed. Hey, I'm just going to step out for a few minutes. So you guys are like 2 minutes. So you guys just keep going. And
yeah, sweet.
I'll come back. I'll follow the conversation and interrupt again when I have something relevant to say.
All right, sweet.
Right. Let's go.
So, I was wanting to talk to you about your channel and how your growth and all that and what plans you might have and stuff like that.
Kind of been slacking on getting this newest video out that I've been hyping up in my past few, but like it's gonna be my first like non-social justice-y, gonna do a really like in-depth kind of walkthrough of my experiences listening to Death Grips, who I don't know if you're familiar with.
To who? Sorry, say again.
The band is Death Grips. They're from California and they're a crazy experimental hip hop trio.
I think I've heard the name, yeah, but I wouldn't claim to have heard anything by them or know anything about them.
Yeah, well, watch that video and you'll find out.
All right. Yeah, because you're a muso, right?
Huh?
You're a muso, right? Sorry, it's New Zealand slang for musician.
Sorry, you're cutting out a bit.
Oh, I was just saying, I was asking if you're a musician, right? You still can't hear me? Crap.
No, I'm back now. We can't hear him. Oh, there he is.
Oh, hey. All right.
Hello?
Let's get back on track.
Sorry.
It's falling apart.
Yeah. Feminism's tearing itself apart.
Exactly. That's exactly what's going on. Hangouts are weird.
Yeah, when I had a chance to meet Michael Rollins in real life when he was touring, or not touring, he was not touring Europe, he was visiting Europe, but you know, it's the Michael Rollins tour, world tour. And we got to hang out for like hours and talk without any technical problems or delays or sound challenges. It was fabulous.
A Christmas mirror.
He gets around. I've met him, and I'm going to be seeing him again in a few days, and so will Tim. And I think he's met Chrisiosity too.
Yeah, like I said, it's the world tour.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Where were we?
Talking about content coming up, I guess.
Yeah. So let's see. I have a whole. Let me pull this up. Actually, in my like YouTube folder, I have a whole just ideas for videos.
Yep, I've had one of those the whole time I've had my channel as well. There's still a lot of stuff on there that when I first got started I haven't done yet.
Yeah, videos that are done, videos that are in progress, and then like just ideas. So let's see. About the whole like, because I did a series of videos when I first started about Anthony Fantano's Resist.
Yep, I watched that. Yeah, that guy's a fucking joke.
Yeah, a lot of people had said like, oh, it's a joke, it's a parody, and I wanted to make a kind of video about like satire. Just because something is supposed to be satirical or comedic does not mean you cannot critique it on the same level as something more serious.
No, quite the opposite, in fact. Oftentimes satire and parody, particularly political satire and political parody, is very ripe for criticism and analysis. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and mostly it's designed for that. That's kind of the point. Yeah.
The whole reason in the first place was just because I was a huge fan of the needle drop for about 5 years, like I said in the beginning of the first one. But like,
yeah,
he kind of took this direction. It was just, it was a regular old shit posting channel. It was a fun time, but then he I guess when Resist Capitalism started trending on Twitter, he took advantage of like its popular zeitgeisted out this like iPhone video of him like doing this really over the top character, and I was like, this is not great. And then he made 14 more.
Yeah.
Like, come on, slow your roll a bit here, buddy. And I mean, then he popped up in the questions white men have for SJW's video. Oh, and I kind of grumbled at that. And he also tweeted calling me a whiny little bitch, and now that's my Twitter banner. I keep that. I keep that stuff. It really makes me feel good knowing that somebody who I really respected from like 2010 till now, just it doesn't really hurt me at all or anything. It's just he's just kind of like, yeah, like nobody even really saw the tweet. It only had like 5 favorites on it or something. One of which was me.
Yeah. In the video I've got coming out, I talk about how if you're not being targeted and insulted and whatnot by certain people as an online, like a prominent online leftist, feminist, social justice advocate, whatever, you're doing it wrong. And I wear that stuff as a badge of honor when people attack me, especially the ones that go on about feminism being a cult and stuff. I'm like, yep, I'm getting those. I'm doing it good. I'm doing good. I'm attracting all the people that feminists are supposed to attract. Yeah.
Sphinx did a video response to me, and I didn't actually really watch it yet, and I don't know if I will, but like, the dislike bar just kind of went like way down, and people in the comments were like, you're a moron, you're this and this, and I'm just like, oh wow, I was actually waiting for this to happen. Like, that was the first video where there were more dislikes than likes on the thing. Yeah, so that was great. That was
my
really
one
great.
Is the I'm a Skeptic video. In fact, that and a hangout that me and Tim did about Sargon are the only 2 videos I have. They have more dislikes than likes. And it's I wear that stuff as a total badge of honor. So yep.
You guys are amateurs compared to me. They hate my stuff.
Yeah, but you've got an advantage over us. You're a woman, of course. They hate you.
Oh, that's true. I get an inflation rate, right? That's my feminist privilege.
Yeah. Also, the fact that you have a PhD that isn't real according to them.
Yeah, it's a political science PhD, so that makes it not real or whatever, I guess.
Because statistical theory just stops working once the data becomes about social phenomenon, not the natural world. It just breaks down.
Yeah, exactly.
All statistical theory just breaks down.
Yeah. And
you can't draw inferences.
The people who what I love is when the people who try and have a go at social research, like surveys, then go on to use anecdotal evidence in their argument. It's like, okay, so it's not okay to ask people in society, but to ask you, that's okay, but just not other people. All right, I get it. People who disagree with you, right? Yeah, it makes no sense.
You're making too much. Yeah, you're making too much sense. You're being too pluralist.
Exactly. Yeah, I get that one too, actually.
I got a comment today or yesterday that was freaking hilarious. Where this guy started off with this actually pretty nuanced critique of the AAU study from my Sargon video, and he ended the comment with like, "And all you have to do is go to a campus and open your eyes and look around and see it's not the Congo." It's like, oh, dude, you were actually doing all right until you fucking busted in with an anecdotal bullshit at the end.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah.
All you have to do is go out in nature and open your eyes, and you can see God did it.
Yeah.
God, there it is.
Yeah.
Perfect argument.
Well, Davis Orini said the same thing about gynocracy. He was like, just open your eyes, man.
Said
I mean, there was
Oh, yeah.
testosterone, but still, you know.
Yeah. So if we're going to talk about upcoming content, I'll pitch some of mine too, but I don't want to interrupt Tom's flow. I want to plug a couple of my things coming up too, if we're plugging.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I don't want to, if Tom had other stuff that he wanted to pitch. Actually, maybe you could talk about introduce the collaboration, because I'm doing the other part of it, which is the answers, part 3 that's coming out. But you want to talk about your idea?
This is juicy. All right. So, I mean, and it's weird because I don't want to be kind of a one-trick pony, because my most popular questions X has for Y video, but what we're doing is we want to put together a questions from feminists and anti-feminists, or anti-SJ, I don't know. The title's still a work in progress, but it's just going to be a lot of us asking questions in a BuzzFeed style to. I've already recorded my part. I just need to edit it and make it all look nice. But yeah.
Yeah, I think my favorite working title for that is Reasonable Questions to Anti-SJWs. That's
reasonable,
fine.
yeah.
So they're not disingenuous like the rest of those videos tend to be.
Well, I mean,
think one of the critiques was that they could have done a better job, right, Tom?
I think we might wind up going a little bit. I have a few questions that I were a little bit flippant and kind of comedic, but I think generally speaking, we're going to be pretty straight-laced about it.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the critiques was, you guys want to mock BuzzFeed, do it better, not worse.
Good call.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
I was trying drinking this shit. It's great.
I don't necessarily think they were trying to mock BuzzFeed by being disingenuous. I think they were just being themselves. They just are that. They don't actually care. It's like that Brave New World video I responded to. She had no interest in actually having people provide honest answers to those questions. They weren't questions for those people. They were pithy observations posed as questions for her fans,
Yeah, I think Libertarian Socialist Rants just, he framed it as like accusation mark at the end, like, you harass anti-feminist women.
Yeah.
Would you like to comment?
Yeah. They're loaded questions. And I actually have got a video coming out about that too, about loaded questions.
Wow, you've got a lot of videos coming out, Garrett.
You don't even know, man. I've got my folder on my computer that I edit on has 10 working. That's videos I've actually started working on, not ones that are in a document as theory. There's ones that have got editing projects set up for them, have scripts. 10. It's ridiculous. I'm going to be canceling some of those, but yeah, I have a ton of stuff. Yeah, like I've got ideas to do videos about my life, because it's something I don't talk about much. In the 90s, I was a hacker in the 90s, and I'm going to talk about my experiences in that world, in that movement, whatever. And it's relevant to my channel too, because it was an activist movement. Well, not every hacker in the 90s was an activist, but there was a big undercurrent of technology-based, freedom of information-based activism, and releasing people who were being held without charge and stuff. Yeah, there was a lot of that stuff. So it is relevant to my channel, but also, I think people. It's because a friend of mine was on Facebook making a comment about 90s hackers based on stuff from The Matrix, dressing in leather trench coats and being all trendy and stuff. But actually, my experience with those, there were a lot of fat loners in their parents' basements. When you see them get arrested and stuff, like there was a guy called Zyklon who was, and I don't think he was an anti-Semite. I just think the name sounded cool. But he was in a group called Global Hell, which was the biggest hacking group in the world for a few years. When he got arrested, he was just like a 19-year-old white, spotty, fat kid, And it was just, and he's getting sent to federal prison.
Sounds just like me.
Well, I was certainly all three of those things. I was a lonely, fat, white kid when I was a 90s hacker too. And I stopped doing it when I got my first girlfriend. Literally true story. I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore.